Hi, everybody. My name is Haas Ali Khan, Haas like an avocado. You won't soon forget that. And we're going to talk about tech tools in the transaction space today. I'd like each one of my panelists just to tell us who you are, what your company is about, very briefly, and one thing we might not know about you.
Oh, wow.
Right? Okay.
Okay, that's a twist. Hi, I'm Satish Negroni, Director of Business Applications at the Durst organization. One thing you don't know about me is I've been in real estate tech since 2000. I've been with Durst about 7 years. Durst owns and manages about a little over 10 million square feet of commercial space in Manhattan. Also has some ownership and manages One World Trade Center. Our residential portfolio consists of about 2,000 units with an additional 500 units coming up next month in Haddon's Point, Queens.
So since you started in 2000, so you started out on the original Macintosh Plus?
Actually, it was an IBM DOS machine.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Lucia.
Hello, I'm Lucia Diana. I work for Verizon Global Real Estate. I work on national strategic transaction projects where we can be kind of think out of the box on how to use the real estate to benefit our portfolio. We have a pretty robust portfolio to run our network. We're about 105 million square feet. Just under 30 million is administrative space, and we're considered a technology company.
One thing we don't know about you.
English is my second language.
Excellent. Anthony.
Hey, okay, this is working. My name's Anthony Colonna. I am currently the head of innovation for Skanska in the USA. We're a rather large global project developer as well as a builder. And I think we've built in just about every state in the US.
But you're also international, right?
Yes, we're international. I said
Right.
global, yes.
And one thing we don't know.
Well, interestingly, my career has moved all over the place. I've worked for Henry Ford's company, Alexander Graham Bell, and Thomas Edison's company. So I've done a lot of different things.
Gabrielle.
Sure. Hi, I'm Gabrielle Macmillan, CEO and founder of a company called Equiem. Equiem was established essentially to help landlords unlock more value from their buildings. And at Equiem, we believe that there's a lot of untapped value that exists within real estate that centres around engaging more deeply with the customers and the people that inhabit that space and work in that space day to day. So actually what we do is something that has been threaded throughout all the panels today, which hopefully makes it a little bit easier for me to explain it. We have a digital customer experience or tenant experience platform that connects every single individual in the building, helps them link to that building, helps them access services in that building, and drives loyalty and engagement with the landlords of the building that they're in. We were established in Australia in 2011. We now operate in the US, the UK, and Australia. We're across about 55 million square feet and have about 100,000 people in workplaces engaged on our platform daily.
I asked Gabrielle to explain a little bit what Equiem is, because I think we all know a little bit about Durst, Skanska, and Verizon. But what we don't know about, Lucia, is how or why do you think that CRE professionals are turning to technology more frequently these days? What is piquing your interest?
So I think we heard about how, there's building systems and connecting, and we're hearing about user experience and how just the whole world of data analytics is really helping people achieve that. I think what Marielle had asked me to speak on is I run the flexible office program at Verizon. So this is where we redeploy our employees out of traditional market leases and put them into flexible providers, whether it's Regis or WeWork or all the other providers that are coming up, because we're all over the country, so we can't be exclusive with anyone, and it's a great way to deliver a great customer experience, because when you get to know the internal client, an innovation team may want to be at a certain location, a lawyer may want to be elsewhere. The technology that's piqued our interest is sensors, people counters, not so much to know where a certain person is, but the space we've designed. We'll get clients saying, we need 80 seats, right? And then when you kind of utilize it, whether it's internally or whether I put them in a flexible office, there's only 25 people there at a given time. So then we're buying too much space. And we're not taking advantage of this whole flexible market right now where I can just downsize. And it's not just to make decisions from the data, but to start a conversation.
Could we just explore that just a little bit more?
Sure.
A thing I've observed in providing flexible workplace is that there's a bit of a downward spiral. And allow me to explain that a little bit, is that you've got like 60% occupancy, so you have a smaller office space, fewer people show up, so you provide a smaller office space, fewer people and it keeps going downward until like, where is everybody? What's been your experience?
So our experience was the first one I did was, I'll give you the example, was 800 South Flower Street in Los Angeles, 68 dark, ugly cube walls. We moved them to 20 seats at a Regis in Burbank. Only one person was coming. And when we investigated, we found out it's because of the nature of the LA traffic, right? It wasn't suiting their needs. And the one person who came lived nearby. She was using the webcams and the video conference rooms. So it helped her. But everyone else needed to be in a little bit different location. So what we did was we closed that one in Burbank, but gave them cards so that person could always access that one because it was close to our home. But we opened off offices in Westlake Village. We opened off offices in Pasadena. So it wasn't a failure. It was a great news story because within a few months of getting data, we were able to just accommodate our client better. And in that case, it was because of traffic.
Now, Satish, from the landlord side, I know that part of your remit is innovation at the Durst organization. Could you talk a little bit more about why you see CRE professionals turning towards technology and what you're finding to be the most interesting thing recently?
Well, from our perspective, I think we explore new technologies to operate more efficiently. There are systems out there that will help us do our jobs better, make better decisions. And I guess in the end, it also comes down to being competitive in the marketplace.
Anthony, and what are you guys looking at in the innovation world, technology-wise, in construction? Because I think a lot of people here are involved in construction in one way or another, and it tends to be a little bit of a lagging industry in terms of technology implementation.
It is, but especially, I can say that coming from other industries. But what's fascinating is in the last 3 years, the volume of capital investment, of venture capital that's coming into this space is really dramatic. And it's because the investors see the opportunities. And so I would say the biggest challenge is, just kind of winnowing out what are we going to focus on. And I'd say there's really 3 areas for us. I think first and foremost in our business, it's about collaboration. Collaboration on one side with our owners and our designers, and collaboration on the other side with our contractors who are actually performing the construction. So a lot of people have talked about virtual reality and also augmented reality. And one of the projects we're excited about is being able to take those 3-dimensional models and start to integrate historical spend, historical cost data. So you can actually, in real time start to work with a design team, see the visual, and see the impact on cost or schedule. So it's all about collaboration, I'd say, first and foremost.
Great. Gabrielle, 2 things. Lucia pointed out that sometimes you need to do something different to activate your flexible working program. Maybe you could talk about some of the things you guys do. And then how do you use the data to enhance your programs?
Yeah, sure. And I think it's probably one of the more interesting things that we talk to our customers about who tend to be large portfolio owners is that, in fact, building a community or trying to engage with customers in your buildings almost takes an opposite path to the way in which you would actually build or construct a building. Typically when you construct a building, you almost know exactly what you're going to do brick by brick, before the shovel goes into the ground. When you're building a community, it's almost the opposite in that the very first thing that you do is you need to start engaging and connecting with that community. And so in terms of how the data is used, it is very much, we describe it as experimental, which is a little bit scary sometimes in the real estate industry, but, it needs to be experimental. It needs to be agile and it needs to be iterative. You can have two buildings, owned by the same owner who actually have a very different demographic of customers in them that are looking for very different experiences day to day. I remember recently we launched at two very similar sized buildings, both with the same large owner. They both launched on exactly the same day. So we're rolling out the platform and user registration numbers were almost identical. So, kind of 700 users registered at both buildings on day one. And then, the first thing that we do as part of our tenant engagement or experience program is start to ask those users, well, what do you like about your building? Or, what other services would you like to see? What would you like to see provided to you in terms of experiences through this platform? And the answers at these two buildings were strikingly different. So one building is full of law firm, who are saying, I really like the fact that I no longer, I can click and collect and beat the queue for my coffee. I can have coffee delivered to my desk. I can organise my dry cleaning, and I can access all these convenient services that save me time. And in the other building, they're saying, which I think was filled with a couple of telcos and probably some younger generations, and they were saying, we love the sense of community. We love that we can network and find out what events are on in the building, lunchtime yoga and meeting people. So I think the point is that, the things that we do are not the same in every building. We definitely have learned that it's not about the technology. The technology is replicable. The technology is just one piece of building a community, but it's about the experiences that you're delivering on a day-to-day basis. And it's definitely about collecting data and then looking at that to help guide then how the shape of the building changes. The bricks and mortar might not change, but the soft services that are provided at that building are going to change day to day, the activations and the pop-ups.
A lot of head shaking going on at this end of the panel. I want to hear first from Lucia about your experiences in that vein, and then Satish, maybe you could take up there.
I completely agree. And you have to understand your client. For us, I'm not going to put a marketing person or an innovation team in a Regus, but I'm not going to take a lawyer or a more conservative group and maybe put them in a WeWork. They may not be comfortable there. So you have to kind of get to know what's important to them and then find the right place if I'm going to deploy a flexible office environment for them. I just think that we have entered, and you probably heard from Ryan, just a hospitality era, right? And we're a large company. We do this at our own campuses. We have concierges. We're all activity-based workplace. Everything's open. It's very collaborative. Even the C-suite has all, glass offices, no doors, so they can collaborate and see if, our SVP is with someone or on the phone or he's approachable because no one's there. It's just interesting how this has all come to fruition, and I think that I give a lot of kudos to the landlords, right? Like the Brookfields and the Silversteins who are partnering with someone like Durst, who are partnering with a convene, or they're figuring out that they have to monetize their space to give themselves the advantage, and through technology they can figure out what they like and not like, and then what to build and may not work.
Perfect segue.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's what Durst has done. We've partnered with Convene at World Trade Center. We have a whole floor with Convene, and I've been there a couple of times. It is so busy. There's people, all tenants from the building that are coming to that space. Right now, we're in the process of building amenity space at our other building by Times Square, 4 Times Square, which was the Condé Nast building. So it seems to attract a lot of traffic in those areas, and we're going to continue doing that with our other buildings.
Now, what did you find was the biggest bang for the buck in terms of tech tools that you may have used in implementing those programs?
For the Convene program, I was not that directly involved with, but one of the tech tools that we've had a great ROI on, something that Anthony was talking about related to construction. With our portfolio of commercial buildings, we have a lot of construction jobs in those buildings, fit outs, TI improvements, stuff like that. And, we implemented project management tool a little over a year ago that has got great reviews from our team. And we use...
It's okay to say which one.
One of the leaders out there is Honest Buildings. And so in Honest Buildings, for each new job, we put in an RFP for vendors. So it goes through the whole cycle from RFP to invoice approval and payment. And between that, we track the contracts, the draws, make sure that it falls within budgets. It's also a one-stop shop for all project management documents. So that's been real successful.
That's great. Anthony, could you also expand on what Satish was talking about in terms of tech tools in construction that you're finding to be really interesting? Also, maybe make a distinction between sort of legacy providers and up-and-comers.
That's a mouthful. So first, I think you were interested in investment and the return on investment, right?
Well, yes, and what sort of tech tools are you seeing people using, the guys in your shop? I mean, Skanska's a big company,
sure,
right? And I know for a fact that it's probably not, everybody's not using the stuff that IT rolls out, right? So they're probably using some other stuff as well. So what are you guys finding to be really interesting?
Okay, so certainly, everyone's talked about virtual reality and augmented reality, and really, now starting to realize the benefit of using that 3D model, right, and using the information that's behind it, right? So we're starting to really see that in the field. I mean, the mobility tools really have applicability, I think, not only in construction, but post-construction as well. And we've done a number of studies to see the efficiencies and the returns. I know we talk about virtual reality. Let me give a real-life cost savings. So we're working with a client on the West Coast. Everybody does mock-ups. We had a $160,000 budget for mock-ups for a student residence. For a fraction of that, for less than $25,000, we built them 6 virtual mock-ups. And when I say virtual mock-ups, you walk through the room. We actually put the university's website on the computer that's on the desk in this virtual world. So, and you were actually able to interface. You can push the blinds. You can see the sun from morning till night. I mean, this kind of experience for a fraction of the cost of what we would typically spend to mock up the building. And you're able to engage people that you normally wouldn't, right? Because how many people in here are really comfortable reading a plan or a specification? But here you have not only people from the university, but students as well that can all of a sudden really engage with the design and give real feedback to the design team. So I think that's very exciting.
That's very powerful. Now, I know that I'm standing between you and happy hour, okay? So for the final question, what I'd like you to say is, what are you really excited about over the next 5 years? And which technology do you think will provide the greatest benefit in your particular sector?
Since our biggest portfolio is commercial real estate, I see a lot of solutions in the marketplace that are coming up, even from some of the disruptors earlier today, related to commercial lease tracking, deal tracking. There's a bunch of systems out there that focus on how to track deals, how to get the most off your deals. There's also systems out there that provide comps. There's CompStack, there's Rescour, that scrape the data from different systems like VTS and give you information about what you could do with your leasing.
Sounds like transparency. Transparency seems to be the theme in there, if I'm not wrong.
Well, transparency, but also we've been talking with the earlier panels about data and what you do with it. It's not just the data. Having the data is not going to do you any good if you don't know what to do with it. So having that in systems like VTS and having comps available with other systems is just going to make you more competitive and get the leasing going faster.
Very good. Lucia.
I guess what I'm most excited about with what Verizon's going to be doing is we're building out a connected city down in Texas. So it's really for the all smart technology and innovation and continual innovation, because it will be like a living lab. Because what we deploy in a couple of years will be swapped out for continual evolution of the technology. And I think, we're not calling it smart city, it's a connected city, right? Because the minute you come off the DART rail, that's their transportation system, your app will come to life and you'll know all kinds of things, right? There's the autonomous vehicles, the intelligent lighting, the intelligent business systems, how long is the line at the Starbucks, how fresh is the fish at the restaurant, all those kinds of things to kind of what we've talked about and heard about is humanize your experience.
I think this is probably a subject for another panel, but I know that your company has been in a leadership position around 5G networks. Yes. Will those be deployed at your smart city, and how do you think that'll impact people's
Huge, because you have our ThinkSpace platform for all IoT devices, and it's going to be based on 5G. We have 5G deployed right here in New York at one of our co-working spaces. In Chelsea, they're deploying it around the country, and that will enable a lot of these technologies to work.
Anthony.
My vote's going to go for machine learning and artificial intelligence. I think we're already starting to see the first tools come out for anything from planning to estimating. And we're faced today, I think, with this tidal wave of information like we've never seen before. And while it's very exciting, I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg with what we do with it. So those technologies, I think, are really going to get us to a next level.
Yeah, just because the volume of data requires a machine to figure out what the heck's going on in there, right?
I think it's volume and it's also connections. The machine does not think the way the human thinks. And it's actually kind of freeing if you look at like generative design. I mean, there are a lot of studies out there where you can design a structure based on requirements, and it's amazing what the computer will come up with versus a designer. It just thinks differently.
Great, thank you. Gabrielle?
I've got to be honest, I'm kind of excited about all of it. I think we're probably working in real estate at one of the most kind of pivotal and exciting times in terms of the sheer volume and range and diversity of technologies that are now available. In a very rapid period of time, we've gone from just a handful of very closed off legacy, not even cloud-based systems, to a plethora of things. And I don't envy the landlords that are now having to kind of select with all this optionality that's around. Obviously, I'm biased, but there are two things that I would say I'm genuinely excited about. One is that technology actually kind of moving to the background and becoming more and more invisible, and I think that's what good technology does, to create a really human-centric workplace or building experience that actually, again, makes me want to come to work every day, but also helps me be more productive in my workplace. And the second thing I think that's going to be really exciting, that's going to be a bit of a game changer, is the rise of the open platform and the further integration of all of these technologies, because, and we've talked about it a few times today, but there is no one technology that's able to cover the full spectrum of what's required in real estate. If we can integrate them all, we're going to have a much better experience for the people in the building.
Right, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them.
That's right, yeah.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's been about 70 years since Elvish to where we are now. But I'm surprised none of you said blockchain, but I guess that'll be next year's CRE Disrupt topic of interest. So thank you very much, panelists. This was a really great conversation. I'm looking forward to seeing if your predictions come true. Thank you.